Hi, I'm Holly Drake, and I've got some wonderful wild foragers with me today, and we're going to be foraging for our lunch. We're having a wild Italian lunch, and I wanted to just make this short instruction time for my students, and I'm including you YouTube watchers to join me, and I'll be basically talking about some really important instruction for beginning foragers. So that's all you guys, right? Beginning foragers. So I hope you join me, and I wish you could come and cook with us and go foraging. But basically, I just want to start with a scripture to let you know how wealthy you are. And there's a Bible verse that says, "O Lord, how many and varied are your works. In wisdom you have made them all. The whole earth is full of your riches." So I hope by the end of today you will feel really rich, and you'll be able to identify these riches. So some of the riches that we're going to look at are edible. Well, all of the ones we're looking at today are edible, and a lot of them are medicinal, and some of them are extremely useful, and they're all beautiful. And then the spiritual aspect is just looking for the magic and looking for the fingerprint of God and His creativity in each plant that He has created. The scripture says that all of creation expresses His character. So I like to think of it as soaking God in from the outside in. And then questionable. So questionable is looking for ones you don't know yet. So I'm always driving around. If I'm ever in a car accident, it's because I was botanizing, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's that? You know, and then I'll pull over and try to figure it out or take a picture. So questionable, right now you have a lot of questions because you're not aware of a lot of these plants, but eventually they will become like good friends to you, and you will know them well. There's another incredible scripture that says, let's see, I'm trying to remember how it begins. Splendid, no, here it is. Great are the works of the Lord. They are studied by all who delight in them. Splendid and majestic are His works. He has made His wonders to be remembered. So when I first met you, I asked you what your name was, and then I tried to say Ken or Tammy, no, not Tammy, Renee, and Jackie and Scott as quickly as I could, because if you do that, it helps you to remember, and you only value what you can name. So it's like that with people. If somebody forgets my name, it makes you feel kind of like, they don't really care about me. Well, I do. It's just that it takes repetition. So as I teach you about a plant, I want to hear you say, hi yucca, or hi plantain, or hi chickweed, or just constantly every time you see that plant, remember what its name is and what you did with it today. Does that make sense? All right, so we value what we can name. I want to tell you about something extremely important. Well, first I'll talk about the shuns, which is wild wisdom. And the first shun is preparation. And I asked you all to wear closed-toed shoes. Very good reason for that, because when you're foraging, you don't want to step on something that's going to bite you or step into poison ivy. So there are some dangers in foraging, but it's not a big deal. It's like just being aware. Just like there's dangers driving, just because there is, it wouldn't mean that you don't get in your car. So it just means you just get a little bit wise, worldly wise, or plant wise. So in the preparation, another thing you want to do is, besides the closed-toed shoes, is wear a hat. And that's a really good thing just for the shade, and also for protecting from ticks and stuff. I love to use a insect repellent, because I don't want to have ticks, and so the ticks will not come on if you spray with, I use this particular blend of essential oils, and so I'm going to make sure you all have it, and just spray any place that you want on your body, and we'll just pass that around. So that's important as well. What else? Oh, having your baskets, your shopping carts, and having your clippers and all that is just all part of preparation. All right, so then location is extremely important. Hi, Danica. Welcome, welcome. So location is, you don't want to shop at a place that's poisonous. Who can think of some poisonous areas that you would want to avoid? You want to sit here, hon? Come join us. Okay, so would you want to shop underneath a Christmas tree farm? No, because all of the toxins that they pour on those trees to kill the bugs so the trees look good poisons not only the tree, but all of the plants below it and all of the water in the water wells below. So it's extremely important that you can have an edible plant, but if it's in a toxic location, it'll be toxic. Does that make sense? You don't want to shop right next to the road, a busy road, because of all of the gas emissions and all of those toxins as well. So you can have a really tasty yucca plant right next to the road and it wouldn't be good for you. Okay, other places you don't want to shop. Well, it's important to know where poison ivy is, and I'm going to show you some of that today. And also rhododendrons are toxic, so if you're going to find an edible plant under a rhododendron, probably would be best not to shop for that one, okay? So it's just common sense. So we're kind of reclaiming common sense that used to be known by all of our ancestors. So you're going to feel like we've kind of reconnected or closed a loop. Identification. So Stella, I really need you to hear this. Never put a plant in your mouth unless you're 100% sure of its identity. And better yet, make sure ask your mama, say, Mom, can I eat this? Does that make sense? So it's not like 90% sure, you need to be 100% sure. And the good thing is that there's not a whole lot of toxic plants and poisonous plants. There are some, and we'll see some of them today. So learn those and become really familiar with them so that everything else is either edible, but not palatable. So some of them are, you can say, well, Holly, can I eat this? And I go, yeah, but it's disgusting. Or it has a lot to do with the way in which you prepare it. So, or there's just a part of the plant that's edible and the other part that's not. For example, do you all like tomatoes? Do you like to eat tomato leaves? They're poisonous. So it's just God is in the details. All right, so identification. And so when you're doing identification, you're going to look at the leaf margins and at the venation and at the structure of the branching, and you're going to look at just the entire stature of the plant. And so we'll be doing that as we walk about. And the last is multiplication, and multiplication is just being kind to other foragers. You don't want to just take it all. So like yesterday I was in a milkweed patch, and I just would take like every third broccoli bunch. So we're making broccoli out of milkweed. So that's kind of fun. And then the last thing I want to talk about is nature's wave. So nature's wave it's all about energy. Can y'all hear me? Okay, I'm trying to speak loud. So we're going to talk about this yucca plant. She's looking a little sad right now because I picked her about 3 days ago. But so in the winter time, most everything is underground, but it's still there. So, and in the spring, we're waiting for that stuff to come up through the earth. Those roots have a lot of energy in them. And the yucca root is tasty. It tastes like potato, okay? So the energy is in the ground for all of the plants in the winter. The energy then in the spring, as the sun comes in stronger, and stays longer, starts to come up into the early shoots. So the early shoot of a yucca plant is also really tender. And there's an important word that I've written here. It's called meristem or meristematic. And so it's kind of common sense. Like when the shoot of the yucca comes up, it's really flexible and tender, and that's when you can eat the shoot. But would you want to eat this shoot? No, you might want to use it to, hit something. But I mean, actually it's a good fire starter at this point. But so the energy is now went up the shoot into the early leaves, and those are edible too, but they're extremely fibrous. They look like we're going to walk right by one when we get back to our cars, but they look like spears, or like, you've seen them. They're like really jagged, and they're extremely fibrous. But the pulp inside of the leaves is very nutritious. So this is an amazing plant. It has so many nutritional benefits and medicinal benefits. So then the energy goes into the early flower buds. So here we can see a flower bud right there. This one has yet to bloom, and these are really tasty. And so you can certainly eat these buds. And then the flowers open up, and so the energy goes into the flowers, and that's when they're trying to attract the pollinators. And so this is going to be like our noodles for our spaghetti meal tonight. So when y'all are going to be doing this, you're going to be taking out the stamens. See you don't want to eat the stamens. And these are the parts that we're going to be saving, okay? So this part we can put into the compost bin. And we're going to boil these up and put them into our omelet and into our antipasto salad, etc. And you can also eat them raw. So then the energy after the flour goes into the seed pods. And the early seed pods, there's not one on here, but the early seed pods are also really tasty, and the seeds are amazing. So if you get the seeds when they're still really flexible and tender, they just have an amazing taste to them and they're good. When they get really hard, which hopefully we can see one from last year, you can grind them up into like a cornmeal. So look at all the gifts of this one plant. And that doesn't even refer to the medicinal or the usefulness. So you can use this plant for soap. You take one of the leaves, and we're going to do this when we get over to it, the plant, and you just rub it really hard and all the fibers come out or come together, and then your hands will be really green and slimy and foamy, and it takes off tar and whatever. I mean, it's a really, really good soap. And the Aztec women used to use it to wash their hair. In the Southwest, this was a huge plant for food. In fact, some of these species will grow up to 60 feet tall. The species we have only get up to maybe 5 or 6 feet. You can use this stalk here as a fire starter. If any of you have ever done that, it's the fastest fire starter of any plant. So this was a really amazing, a lot of great primitive uses for this plant. Amazing medicinal uses, which I won't even get into because the list is like 5 miles long. What else does this do? Cordage. So the fibers that are in those spiky leaves are really good cordage. So this is an amazing plant, and we're going to get to eat this today and work with this a lot today, and it's going to be really tasty. And it's high in nutrients. So one of the things I want to say about wild edible plants is that their enzymes are alive. You know, like this one, I cut this one a couple of days ago, but everything that we're going to pick today is still growing, and we need the enzymes to digest our food. So there's really nothing more nutritious for you than something you've just picked out of the garden or something you've just foraged for in God's garden. So are there any questions about that or any of this? Okay, I want to say one more scripture, and it says, "They look to you to give us our food in due season. He gives to you, we gather them up. He sends forth His Spirit, and we are created, and He renews the face of the ground." So that's what nature's wave is all about. You know, God is just renewing and giving us everything we need for life. So it's very empowering to know the things I know, and I hope you feel more empowered by the end of today. So that's our introduction. Let's just briefly go over the handout. And thank you, YouTube, for joining me. I wish you could go foraging, and I wish you could come back and eat with us. But maybe my husband will be able to videotape some of the cooking and eating part. So, thank you.